Well, there it is. Hello and welcome to another Starcraft 2 commentary. This is WTii and this is a 1v1 on the map Xel'Naga Caverns between iliketurtles as the red Zerg in the 8 o'clock position and myself, WTii of course, as the blue Zerg in the 2 o'clock position. Now I'm just basically saying do you because his name is iliketurtles. Bit of polite, friendly banter going on between the two of us as the game proceeds. Now we can just speed the game up a little bit because not much is going to happen. I'll let you know when it does happen, but for the moment there's a lot of drones being made basically. Both very standard builds from both players so far. No one's really particularly ahead of the other. Apart from there was a slight difference in getting the overlords out there, but that's about it really. It's not really going to make the big overall difference in the game. As you can see, you're going to want to be sending over your overlords to each other's base. Not inside the main as such, but just around the areas, because overlords can hang around an enemy Zerg's base for quite a long time until they manage to produce enough hydras or, you know, like mutalisks or spread creep with the queens, and then that way they can take out the overlords quite easily. But until then the overlords can just hang around for a long time, getting a good scope on what's going on around the battlefield. So my enemy has got a spawning pool. I've built my spawning pool approximately about 20 or so seconds after him, because I know that the distance between each other on this map, if you use a probe drone or SCV, is about 38 seconds of real life time. And yeah, so 20 seconds is about 38 seconds in this game. It's about more like 24 seconds. I'm not going to get too specific about it. Either way, basically what I'm doing is I'm making sure that my spawning pool will go up in terms of the rush distance. So if he sent his Zerglings straight away, my spawning pool will come up, and if I built my Zerglings straight away, my Zerglings should be inside of my base in time to defend by the time his Zerglings reach my base. If you understand that, that's good. If you don't, I'm not going to explain it again. So as we can see, his Zerglings are moving about now. They've come back a bit. He's sneaking a roach warren behind there. I don't believe I saw that. Let's have a look. No, I am not aware of a roach warren, but I am aware of most roach Zerg versus Zerg games turn into roach wars. I've learnt this the hard way. My god, I've tried Zerglings, Banelings, Hydras, lots of different stuff, Mutas, but it always seems to boil down to roaches being the overall victor in this game, to be honest. Maybe it's a bit different on the real top levels, you know, but as far as I'm seeing from my diamond games, roaches seem to prevail. So we just got 4 Zerglings versus 4 Zerglings. Oh no, another 2 have come in. I'm going to have to back up. My queen comes in at a perfect time here as well, just to help defend against these Zerglings, just in case there was a few too many to overwhelm me. The queen is basically unkillable by only a few Zerglings. You need about 4 or 5 to really kill the queen, and no defense. But since I do have defense, not a problem at all. So I'm going to chase these Zerglings away, and as we can see, his roach den is up, and I am getting myself a lair whilst he is getting himself a majority of roaches. So he's using his minerals and gas for roaches first, and I'm using my mineral and gas for lair first. And then I'll start to produce the roaches because of, like I said before, the distance. Now, you kind of want to be defensive in this game a lot of the time. As much as I love to be very aggressive and all of that, it very rarely pays off, to be honest. It is a defensive game, and you've got to counter your opponent's strategies. And let's have a look what's going on here. So we can see that we're both even-ish. I've got a couple more drones than him at the start, but then again he's got a lot more roaches than me. So we can see that resource-wise he's ahead of me. No, not resource-wise, I mean food-wise he's ahead of me, and he's going to start to produce even more roaches once that lava goes off, I reckon. Let's just keep an eye on that. See what happens to those. Yes indeed, lots more roaches, whereas my tech has now gone off and I'm going to be producing a second queen. That's just in case I'm going to be encountering any mutalisks, because if you had about 3 or 4 mutalisks coming out, say if you did fast tech, then 1 queen won't be able to handle it. 2 queens could possibly handle it, at least scare the mutalisks off, if you hope so. So that's a point where CVZ is quite scary really, because a lot of the time you can't really get inside of your opponent's main to see what they're doing. You can sacrifice overlords, but sometimes they don't even make it to like the back of the mineral line, and then that's where all the buildings are being hid. So you've just gone and lost an overlord for nothing. So it's really quite scary when you're against another Zerg. You can't truly know what's going on, so you've got to kind of build for everything. Meanwhile, I am going mass roaches on this because I am quite certain from my previous games of losing many Zerg versus Zerg games that if you don't go roaches, you're screwed. So we can see my opponent here is sitting on Well, I'm getting my tech up, so I'm getting the roach speed just in case if I do win the upcoming battle, because I can see with the Overlord, I believe. Yes, he's obviously sitting out there getting ready for some sort of attack, otherwise he probably wouldn't be sitting there unless he wants to hold me until he gets his expansion up. But meanwhile, he's going in for the attack. We can see that he's got the majority of units. He's currently on 16 roaches, 13 Zerglings, and I've only got 12 roaches now. So he's currently got the larger force, but I have got the 2 queens in the better position up here. Whilst he is able to hit up the arc, he's able to get himself a bit of an arc. He did basically block all of his Zerglings there, which really cost him. Not that Zerglings could do too much against this little tight choke point. But with my 2 queens aiding behind and making sure that they don't die, unfortunately I just had enough of 1 transfusion, but I decided to not use it because by the time it came up it was basically a battle that I won anyway. So my opponent is going to have to back off here. He's still 2 drones currently down, and we're about the same even amount of roaches, and I've also got an extra queen. So at the moment I've got the advantage, and this is the point where I'm going to start spreading creep tumors like mad, because my opponent is definitely going to have to back off here, recuperate himself, and this is the point where I send in an Overlord thinking, right, God, what is he doing? What is he doing? Was that just throwing away his units so that he can then save his food count rather than making extra Overlords for like mass hydras or mutalisks? I don't know. You see how far the Overlord got there. What did he see? Still saw nothing. I still don't even know there's a roach den there. Obviously there is roach warren because he's made roaches, but you see what I mean? Overlords are so slow in this. It's so very tricky to get inside. You can try and use Zerglings, but then that's extra lava you're spending on Zerglings just to sacrifice inside of your opponent's base. It was CVZ, obviously a mirror match. You need as much advantage over your opponent as possible. So what we're looking at here, my opponent is about 1 drone down. Income is looking about the same-ish. You can see that we're about level peggings on the food count. What's being produced, I'm getting myself the tunneling claws and the burrow ability because I'm going to want to heal up my roaches should they get further injured. Not to mention that, like I say, it is pretty much a roach wars CVC at the moment, so the best you can upgrade your roaches, the better, really. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do. I'm also getting myself the armor, which I've just upgraded now. So, oh no, I haven't. Have I? I thought I saw. No, that's just been built. Evolution chamber. Sorry, it just went up. I thought it actually finished researching something. It did not. But what I would do is, when I can, I will get myself the armor. Will it go off? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I'll have to keep a check on that anyway. As we can see, we've both got the same amount of roaches. My opponent has actually got 1 less drone than me and more Zerglings. So he's actually keeping up with me, regardless of the fact that he actually lost the previous battle quite harshly. So he's got a couple of free kills here because he caught me off guard as I'm macroing, because you can see I'm spreading a lot of creep. Now this is arguable thing to do really in ZVZ. Do you spread creep because you're giving your opponent an advantage as well? Well, really that's up to your judgment call. I made the judgment call because 1, I love the creep because it gives you sight as well as extra movement, and 2, I did kind of win the last battle, so I feel more confident putting down the creep. I might have been less confident to put it down had I lost that battle before. But you can see I'm comfortably spreading it around. I'm not going to get myself an expansion yet, even though it's really, really tempting. And I can't finish off my opponent. Here comes another Overlord. I was going to try and sacrifice it, but I thought, no, it's not even going to get close again, is it? So yet again, I don't know what's going on. Could that be a Spire? Could that be a Hydralisk Den? I don't know, because I still can't currently see. Whereas my opponent doesn't know what's going on in my base either. I've actually got myself a couple of spore crawlers. 1, to see any roaches that might want to try and tunnel and claw themselves into my base and try and do some damage if they manage to sneak out, because I haven't actually converted any of my Overlords into Overseers, which I was tempted to do, but I want to try and keep the gas because, as you can see, I'm quite heavy on minerals and not so much on gas. So yeah, I decided to get myself a couple of spore crawlers inside of my base just to prevent any real roach threat, because that way I could finish them off if they did come into my base. They might be able to do some initial damage, but also I could defend against mutalisks. So really, it seemed like the smartest idea to do that. With the creep spreading, this is what I was going on about, killing the Overlords that were hanging around. He's obviously forgot a couple of his Overlords, and